The beauty of real estate is not everyone needs to be employed by your company. You can 1099 a lot of contractors. And that's kind of what I've done. It helps me be flexible and nimble at the same time. If there are market changes or market upsets, then I'm not employing that many people. And so I can shift and pivot pretty quick.
Welcome to The Path to Wealth, the show about well-being, fulfillment and financial freedom. And I'm your host, Hannes Henschel. Welcome back to The Path to Wealth. I'm your host, Hannes Henschel. This week we're joined by Leka Devatha, a power woman who made a name in the real estate industry. Leka is a founder of Rehabit Homes, a real estate developer, broker, and host of the Real Estate at Work. She has been involved in over $100 million of real estate development. And today we will be talking about how she got started, what she learned along the way, and what her top tips are for the success of women that at times might be the only one in the room. And she's also the co-author about a book where women are at times the only one in the room. And I think especially in the real estate industry, that rings true. Welcome to the show, Leka.
Thank you, Hannes. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, you're very welcome. So let's give us a little bit of a background. Where did you originally start on your journey in real estate?
Yeah, so I was not ever in construction or real estate at all. I moved to the country from India in 2006, and I was in fashion at Nordstrom Corporate. I was in merchandising and branding. And so I one day was literally driving to work and I heard a radio ad for a flipping company that was coming to Seattle. And I was like, what is a house flip even mean? Because we didn't do that back home in India. And then as I learned about the process, I was super intrigued and to the point where I couldn't think about anything else. And so I joined a course and then just learned about all the different kinds of investing and decided that I wanted to flip a house. And so I quit my job, started hustling to find a deal. And then within 3 months, I had my first deal under contract.
Nice. So what was that transition like coming from India? And one of the things I like about Indians usually, and maybe that's limited to the ones I meet in the US, but they always know about real estate. Like, you don't need to explain them the structures usually. They're very much in it already. So what was that transition like coming from India to the United States for you?
Back home in India, a lot of my family did own a lot of real estate, but I always thought it was for older, wealthy men. I didn't ever think that it could be a woman investing in real estate at a younger age. So I didn't have too much of that background just because I wasn't inclined towards real estate back home in India. So it was actually brand new for me. And everything I learned, I just basically learned from the ground up.
Yeah. So what does real estate ownership in India entail? I've been actually looking at different markets. Like, I've spent a lot of time in Mumbai too, and I'm just out of curiosity. I always see real estate and I see it being developed, and there seems to be a lot of fractional ownership there. Have you ever considered going back there and trying to also, own Indian real estate, or are you focusing on the US market solely?
We do have a pretty good sized portfolio of real estate in India. I recently bought a condo for my parents. So we own that. And then we also own other real estate because my husband's side of the family are really into real estate. So they have a pretty large portfolio. So it's more inherited real estate, except for the condo that we bought. It's more inherited real estate, which has grown over the years in value. But owning real estate in India can be quite cumbersome because there's no there could be a lot of squatters. So it's a lot of litigation And then sometimes, it's to sell real estate can take, like over here, our days on market are 30 days, 45 days, whatever. In India, it could take like 3 or 4 years. They have something called the registration process, which is like kind of like our escrow. And just that registration can take like a good year. So it's owning real estate in India can be like not as seamless as owning real estate here.
Yeah. I mean, that from your perspective, that just doesn't sound business friendly at all. If you and how do people that are professionally
No, I mean, but
doing that over there, how do they deal with those hurdles in the market?
as with real estate over here, you deal with it with patience. Delayed gratification is king. And so the people that do own real estate there that I know really well, basically bought land many years ago and have now developed them into apartments or do joint venture partnerships with big builders that then develop them, and then they have like a big equity stake in them. So it takes a lot of time and then just capital management, kind of like here, but just longer and just more patience.
Yeah. So what was that like for you in the US after you started getting your first deal? A woman in a probably more male-dominated space, maybe less dominant as you were kind of having that picture that you painted earlier from like old rich folks, mainly men that own real estate. What was that for you as a woman? You got your first deals. How did you feel kind of going into that industry as a woman?
I have to say that I've been super fortunate. It has been, I won't say easy, but the men that I have worked with over the last few years or since I started investing have treated me as an equal. And I think that has been super awesome because they bring me the same deals that they would bring a guy. They would partner with me the same way they would partner with a guy. But also, I think I found kind of my place in that situation where I can take on a deal and not let it fall through the cracks. Like I'll do anything to see it to the finish line. So if you can establish yourself, then the men around you are going to take you seriously. And I've had nothing but amazing male mentors and just people that encourage me, that are enthusiastic about what I do. So my lending partners are guys, my wholesaler, my main broker, my mentor, they're all guys. But needless to say, I have found an amazing tribe of women that are in this business who oftentimes are the only women in the room that are just crushing it. And they honestly feel the same way. Like if they didn't have their support from their male counterparts, then it would have been not such an easy playing field or more like secure playing field. But I think we're lucky as women to have such amazing, strong, supportive men.
Yeah, nice. So what are some of your favorite mentors? You did mention that you had some great mentors in the space. What are some of your favorite mentors that are mainly underrated in the space or not so well known?
Yeah, so one of my business partners and just a visionary in the space is Charles McKinney. And Charles founded a company called Certain Lending, now Wantive. And he is, he built, it's a hard money lending company that they built from scratch. It was him and his business partner, Shreyas. And it was basically my business that they were modeling after. And so the three of us back in 2017, like they had the concept, I had the proof of concept. We came together and they started this company. And since then, he's just been an absolute amazing mentor to me. And he's really good at economic market cycles. He's been in real estate a really long time. He's seen the ups and downs. So anytime I have questions or doubts, he is someone I go to, and he's also my lending partner. So he's just, an incredible like force and within my business. Another amazing mentor is James Daynard. James is basically who I want to be when I grow up, but he's so much younger than me. He has flipped over 3,000 homes, and he built a company that does like a full service for real estate investors where they find you the deal, they fund the deal, and then they also they also sell the deal. So they do the beginning, middle, and the end. And it's like a full process. And so he's someone that I bought 90% of my deals from. And again, just an amazing mentor that I've learned a lot from.
Yeah. It seems that there's successes in the processes, right? Like whenever someone establishes good processes, what you just mentioned about him, is that,
right.
That's when you can duplicate your efforts very well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. 100% agree.
So what is your team structure like? Do you have a team around yourself that you build over the years, people that help you duplicate your efforts so you can accelerate your personal journey?
Yes. So, the beauty of real estate is not everyone needs to be employed by your company. You can 1099 a lot of contractors. And that's kind of what I've done. It helps me be flexible and nimble at the same time. If there are market changes or market upsets, then I'm not employing that many people. And so I can shift and pivot pretty quick. But I buy my deals from the same wholesaler. I sell my deals to the same listing broker. I've had the same stager, the same escrow company for the last 8 years. On my team, I do have my asset manager and another general partner. My general partner also works as my investor relations person and also my underwriter. And then my asset manager works with my property managers, my bankers, any other lenders, like he deals with all of that. Additionally, I have a property manager who, again, is not employed by us, but he manages all of my units here in Seattle. And then, of course, we have attorneys, we have a full CPA bookkeeping service and company that, backs us. So we have all of these. And then the most important piece is that I have amazing general contractors that I've worked with for 5-6 years now. And so, it's been a good ride with them.
Yeah. So that very much sounds like, you build very solid relationships and lasting relationships. Like you try to establish yourself with a certain vendor or
Yes.
Professional, and you stick with them.
Right. So helpful and so true.
Yeah. So where did that money mindset and business savviness come from? So I picture you, what you described earlier, sitting and you're listening to that radio show where somebody speaks about house flipping, and now you're the leader
Yeah.
of an entire organization, of a team of vendors doing real business. What was that process or evolution for you?
Oh, it was a process, that's for sure. I've always been an entrepreneur. And even when I was working at Nordstrom, I was very much an entrepreneur at heart. I always brought new processes, new ways of thinking to the team. And so the thought of sitting there and working for someone else was actually just like very claustrophobic for me. So the minute I was able to find something that I really enjoyed, even just studying about real estate, listening to podcasts, reading books, I was like, wow, this is my calling. I didn't know I was business savvy. I didn't know I could constantly keep moving the needle or take on one stress after another, crushing my roadblocks. But as I started to do more of it, I was like, wow, like I'm really good at this stuff. So this is where my strength lies, is in fixing problems. And so once you become a problem solver, then magic happens, right? Like you can do so many cool things and nothing phases you, nothing stresses you out. And that's kind of what happened is gradually, like I flipped one house, then the next year I flipped 8 houses, and then the next year I flipped another 5 or 7 houses, then 15 houses, and then I became a real estate broker. Then I helped this lending company, and then I started to subdivide lots, and then I started adding additions, and then I did commercial office spaces, and I'm now doing multifamily syndication. So it is a journey and an evolution, and it's a pretty slow one at that. Like I know people that just like right off the bat, they're buying $100 million apartment buildings, like more power to them. But for me, it's just been like more of a slow and steady journey.
Yeah. Earlier, you mentioned
Yeah.
market cycles, and you just kind of, in your natural progression, went through different asset classes in the real estate space. Given where we are in the current environment, where do you remain bullish, and where are you more cautious right now?
That's a good question. I think I'm more bullish on multifamily right now, just because there's like more room to fail. I wouldn't necessarily do a flip anytime in the near future. The one asset type that always works, no matter what kind of market it is the BRRRR method. So like, and I like doing it on the small multifamily, the 2 to 4 units. So it's still a conventional loan where you buy, you rehab. So you buy a distressed property, you rehab it, you rent it, and then refinance it. So you can take all of the cash that you put in out because you have significantly raised the value of the property. And then you can use the cash that you've taken out to go ahead and repeat the process. That's something that I've used over and over and over again to be able to grow my rental portfolio here in Seattle.
Yeah. So now that you're looking at multifamily syndications, which areas are you still focusing on Seattle, or is it something where you're looking in different states altogether?
I am still focused on Seattle. I think Seattle is a great market. There's fewer players here because of how expensive the market is and how difficult it is to rehab properties these days. So I kind of like this market, and this is where my network is. This is where my contractors are. I'm boots on the ground. And so it's like easy for me to be here and figure out solutions to problems. So I'm still looking in my market.
Yeah, I think this makes a lot of sense, and it's a conversation I had with a couple of my friends too. It's like, if you're boots on the ground and you have a network, you're a lot more likely to make a deal work in an area that maybe other investors that are out of town wouldn't dare to go. Like Seattle, for someone who is maybe from the south or even the East Coast or anywhere else, it just doesn't make any sense. The barrier of entry for us is so much higher, and building the network, we might just go to other cities, like Dallas or all of the other cities that have been performing well, where the barrier of entry is different and it's easier to build a network.
So true, so true. Like I'm flipping a house in Raleigh, North Carolina, and it has just been a nightmare because we had to let 2 contractors go. I'm not boots on the ground. And I'm doing this with my brother, who is amazing. He is exactly like me, but it's his first project. And so, there's a lot of like stress on him. But at the same time, like if this was in my city, this would have been done 6 months ago. But because it's not in my city, there's more of a process that we need to follow. So I'm a big fan of just playing in your own market. But having said that, I know amazing people doing great things out of state. But you just have to have a really solid team that are boots on the ground in that market.
Yeah. So you said that currently you would rather not touch flips, and that's based on the overall environment, the Fed kind of hiking up the rates, and there's a lot of uncertainty where the family housing market is moving, right?
Yeah, it's a few different things. Basically, hard money rates have gone up. And the cost to do a house before, to do a flip before, like all my hard costs would be about 15% of the ARV, the after repair value. Today, it's about 25% of the after repair value because you also have to take into account like longer days on market, more expensive labor and material costs. And so, so the price that I need to acquire a distressed property is not something that the sellers are still willing to understand and fathom. And so it's not easy to find a deal that actually pencils. And the one thing that I've learned in my business is to walk away from as many deals as you have to, if it doesn't check all your boxes.
Yeah. And I think that's something, as you said earlier, that one of your mentors, he's very much focusing on the cycles of the market. And in this particular environment where we are right now, it makes sense to just take a deep breath and hold on rather than trying to force it.
Right. So true.
So, what was it like for you culturally to arrive in the United States? Did you feel like it was a big difference compared to, you know, coming from India and then being in the West? Or did you feel like it was a very natural transition for yourself?
You know, it was actually kind of a reverse culture shock because I think in India, I was in a very progressive city. And so it was just like a lot of, it was a lot of like color and a lot of freedom in a way. And then to come to the US, and of course, it was great weather. When I moved to the US, I moved to Seattle, Washington, which was always gray and dark. It was a very tech focused city, so there was not a lot of room for creativity. And I mean, I honestly, like, it took me a while to find my groove because there's also visa issues, like you can't go out and work. Like I had to like stay home for a whole year and like study. And I was coming off of a really good, high profile, high performing job back in India. And then to come here and not have anything to do for a year was kind of stressful in a way. So it took me a good, 2 years or so to really find my groove. And then once I started to invest in real estate and started to go out and build that network, I finally found I finally felt like, okay, I'd find my tribe. And I was kind of like how it was in India. Like I knew everyone knew me. So it was easier to get things done. That took a while to like figure out in the States. But I'm here now.
So you were missing all the food and the masala and the colors of life that are so familiar in India.
Yes, for sure. I still miss it.
I'm sure with such a big tech scene in Seattle, the restaurants are now available too, no? I'm sure there's a lot of people who are craving all of the delicious Indian food.
I mean, it's okay.
Oh.
It's okay. It's not the best. But, San Francisco, New York, I think has better food. We are okay. We're still lacking in it.
Yeah. I mean, New York and especially the northern part of New Jersey or New Jersey, we have a really big Indian population. So we're blessed in that we have a lot of authentic food there.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So what are your plans?
What's your favorite? What's your favorite go-to restaurant?
My favorite restaurant in New York?
Yeah.
There's right on 34th Street in Lexington. There is this, I don't have the name here right now, but it's a dosa place where I love to go usually. And it's amazing. And it's like piping hot masala dosas, and they serve it in a brief. They really got that part figured out. You go in, you let them know what you want. And it's so delicious. It's almost like abroad.
Oh, yum. Now that you said that, I just got reminded that my favorite food in Berlin were the doner kebabs. And there was one little truck that had the longest line. We stayed in the line for like an hour at 2 a.m. And we got this amazing doner kebab. And that was like the bomb.
Was that right next to a nightclub? It sounds like a night scene.
It was not next to a nightclub. So I don't know. It was like next to a gas station or something.
But yeah, they're pretty famous. I think it's one of the most eaten street foods in Germany too. It's pretty famous. I think by now it's probably overtaking the local cuisine here.
Yeah, exactly.
So where are you planning to take things in the next couple of years for yourself? Where are the areas that you personally want to grow and develop yourself?
Yeah. So in the next few years, I think what I want to do is kind of make my rental portfolio bulletproof, you know, make it even more passive, add on more units where I can, increase rents where I can by converting some of my units to midterm rentals. So focused on that, and also focused on adding more units to my passive income portfolio.
Yeah. So what are some of the things where you personally step it up from a mindset perspective? What are you currently overcoming or working on to take it to the next level? Because I always feel like, we're really limited most by what's happening between our ears.
Yeah, absolutely. I 100% agree. Um, it's been a very hard year, like lots of tough projects, a lot of projects that didn't go to plan. Of course, the market has, shifted drastically. Like earlier this year, we were getting 20 offers on every house that we put out. So, and then we were getting like 200K over asking. Right now, houses are sitting for 30, 60 days, and you're barely getting one offer after 60 days. So that's like a whole mental shift that you have to be okay with. I think just still keeping a positive attitude. Like we've all had great years in real estate, and this is just a dip in the cycle. It's only going to go up from here, but you have to wait it out. So continuing to be positive and optimistic, I think, is the key. And it's something that I practice every single day. Like, this too shall pass, and there is going to be rainbows at the end of this, right? So, yeah. So, it's just about staying positive.
Yeah. I always thought about having a metal band on my arm that says "This too shall pass." I didn't get it done yet, but my cousin, she's a jewelry maker. I've been thinking about that for a while now. I should have her do it.
Yes, that would be amazing. That would be so cool.
If I get it done, I'll be sure to send you one. Do you have any particular, I don't know,
done.
maybe...
Now you have to get it done.
Yeah, now I have to get it done. Okay. Do you have any routines or habits that help you to stay calm and kind of, reflect on things from maybe a more remote perspective to gain overall perspective?
Yeah, I work out routinely with my trainer, and that helps me get in more like positive mindset and frame of mind. I also travel a lot, so I leave the country whenever I can and just like go away. And I think every time I come back with a fresh perspective and a whole new, brand new set of ideas. So that really helps. And I'm just really fortunate and privileged to be able to do that. And I understand that. But it's, it's kind of by design. Like we each build a life by design. And this is like what I like to do. I also enjoy going to networking events. I think conferences and speaking at conferences and meeting other people and hearing about their journeys and hearing about, other people talk about their successes, their roadblocks, always gives me fresh perspective.
Yeah. I find that so refreshing. Also what you said, hear other people express it. And I think on any level, you can go to the highest level. People do have roadblocks and doubts. And, I think the imposter syndrome is very much real for most breathing human beings, even though there might be some people that are beyond it, but it's refreshing to see that everybody has their own internal struggles, and it's just just get on with it, and I think what is it, Seth Godin, he always says, just ship the work, just deliver, and it's by reiterating and by the doing, by taking the action.
So true. So true.
Yeah.
I love that. So, ship the work.
Yeah, it's so, I think, I don't know how many years he's been writing a newsletter daily, and he always says, it's like, hey, it's gonna happen no matter what. And in the doing, is kind of in the long term, that's where he's growing. And not every single newsletter is his best work. but he's just built that muscle. He's like always shipping, and he's delivered great work over multiple years because of his discipline. And I think that's very similar in investment. You know, when you have that long-term vision and discipline, you can build a significant portfolio, you know, without like, I think in real estate you don't need to be an Elon Musk, you don't need to be a Bill Gates. It helps to be smart and savvy, but if you have discipline and work ethic, and you're consistent, and you are able to build solid relationships like yourself, I think it will go a long way in our industry.
Yes, agreed, 100%.
Yeah. So what are some of your favorite conferences that you mentioned earlier to go to or to speak at? Where do you feel like you're making the most natural contacts?
So I love the Best Ever Conference. I think it's the one conference that every real estate investor, especially from the multifamily space, attends. So it's a lot of networking with some amazing operators across the country. I love MFIN, that's been put up by Disrupt Equity. I actually have emceed 2 of their last conferences. The reason I like that conference is because it is just a one-day conference, but it's an action-packed conference. So we start at 8, end at 5 or 6, and it's just like session after session after session. So it's more crammed into one day, and there's just a lot of value. For people with families that don't want to travel for 3 or 4 days, this is like a good conference that is like all consolidated in a day. And then I love the Bigger Pockets conference because that is more geared towards people that are either just starting out or are still in the single family phase, but they also talk about different asset classes. So it's kind of cool to see, all these different varieties of things that people do: short-term rentals, mid-term rentals, hotels, office buildings, multifamily. So it's got a really good overall overarching view of all things real estate. So those are my top conferences, I would say.
Yeah. So for the next Leka that's sitting somewhere listening to the radio right now, what would you tell her on her journey to building her own portfolio, and maybe lessons learned from yourself where she might accelerate her journey, or where would you have her start?
Yeah, so, if I had to go back and give myself any kind of advice, it would be back when I first started to buy assets, buy deals from the point of view of holding them for long-term appreciation and cash flow. What I instead did was I started flipping homes, and that was going back, that was a good thing to do because I needed active income. And I needed to get good at construction. And those things taught me to do that. But I wish, I started holding properties in 2017, and I wish I had done that even sooner, maybe 2015, 2016. Because then that would have basically helped me retire today.
So what is your goal for retirement? How would you like to live your life once you say you're hitting retirement?
My goal for retirement would be a ton of passive income, which I'm very far away from hitting. But if I did retire with all that passive income, I think I would somehow contribute to the society. Today, I host a virtual and in-person meetup just as my way of giving back. And so, if I was retired, I would do that full time. I would educate, I would mentor, I would basically help people kind of get on the path that I did, and maybe help them learn from my mistakes and my experiences. Yeah, more so than now.
That's amazing. Are there any charities that you like? Anything you would like to highlight? Things that you care for deeply? Causes? Yeah,
so there's one charity local to Seattle. It's called the Kiran Anjali Project, and they educate women in India. So I absolutely love that charity. Apart from that, there's a bunch of other ones. There's the Travis Mills Foundation, where they take care of army vets with disabilities. And then anything to do with like juvenile diabetes. I have a friend who has this most adorable kid that has type 1 diabetes. So, anything we can do to give back to that kind of research, I think would be my preference.
Nice. So one of my favorite questions that I like to ask is, what does it mean to you to have a life well lived?
I think one where you're available for your kids, where your family is really your biggest why. So somehow you're available to your family. A life where you can travel freely. You're in good health. Health is the ultimate wealth. And so, where you are able to exercise and be healthy and travel the world and, have a good tribe of friends surrounding you. I think that is really a life well lived.
Yeah, I like that. So you mentioned children. How would you pass on the money mindset that you built for yourself? What do you think are the lessons that you need to pass on in order for, the wealth you're building to be generational?
So my kids are 10 and 6, and whenever I can, I take them to my virtual meetups. I let them come listen to me while I'm speaking on stage. We often, like I was explaining to my son the other day what cash flow was. So like just having like dinner table conversations around what is it that I do? Why am I doing it? How am I building wealth? What kind of things that they should be thinking about? Not something that I'm like, hey, you have to learn this or you have to do this, but more like, hey, like, think about this way. They're still too young and I don't want them to get completely cheesed off of this conversation. So wherever I can insert it, I will. They see how hard I work. And so they do see my work ethic, which, they're like, oh, okay, mommy works so hard, like daddy works so hard. So that's what we should do. Like that's already well inculcated in them. So I think it all starts from that kind of the basic ethics.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I think it really helps, when the children over decades marinate in that environment and it's just, and I think they learn a lot by observation, and it really goes into the brain tissue, so to say, and it becomes second nature to them, and they don't even know why they make those good choices down the road.
Exactly. So true. I love that.
Yeah. And I think that's also the hard part, not having that environment when we're young, which for many now newly starting investors is the harder part, is getting rid of the bad habits around money. And like breaking with maybe the generational drama of bad financial education.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah. So, Leka, thank you so much for your time. This has been super interesting. You have a very interesting journey. Also, moving continents and then moving industries and really making a mark for yourself. I'm very curious where you're going to take this in the next couple of years. Where can people connect with you and find you or become part of the meetup that you mentioned?
Yeah, so I'm on LinkedIn. I'm pretty active on there, and I'm also on Instagram. So come find me in either of these places. And all of my meetup details and, all the cool stuff we do is on there. So just connect with me on either one of those platforms. Thank you, Helen. Yes, thank you. This is awesome.
Thank you for joining us at The Path to Wealth. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. Check out our upcoming guests and be sure to share it with all your friends and family that want to take their life to the next level of wealth.